Hey everybody, welcome to It's Real with Jordan and Demi. Alongside Demi Ramos in New York City, I am Jordan Edwards in Kansas City temporarily. We are really excited to have Yeek on the show today. He's a super talented singer, songwriter, filmmaker, just all around media creator person from the West Coast. And Demi, you were the one who actually we need to get Yeek on the show.
Absolutely. I mean, Yeek, you can label his music as pop music, but he does come from a alternative and rock background, which is why I really love him. And you can kind of hear those elements in his pop music. So he's definitely pushing boundaries all over the place. And we're going to talk about that.
All right, so let's talk to him. Yeek, what is going on?
Hey, what's going on? How y'all doing?
We're doing great. We're doing great. First of all, sweet hat, by the way, your hat game. Demi is a hat person, so I'm sure she appreciates.
Is this the hat of the day?
This is
I actually bought like 4 different like beanies the other day at Melrose Trading Post, and so I'm just like wearing it now. But yeah, I love hats. I have like way too many hats.
And one of the few people who can pull off a bucket hat with the upturned rim bill and it still looks cool. Like that's hard to do. That's hard to do.
Yeah. Well, this is just like a little beanie here.
Yeah. So you are you in LA right now?
Yeah, I'm in LA, Pasadena, which is like LA County.
Yeah. I used to live in Burbank. So
Me too.
Oh yeah.
I just moved from Burbank to here in August.
Burbank's all right.
Yeah, Burbank's all right. It's cool though. It's cool though. I like being kind of like tucked away.
You're kind of in Coyote country up there.
Yeah. What, in Pasadena?
Oh yeah, up in the mountains there. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, exactly. There's like snow on the mountains sometimes too.
You're an artist born from the DIY culture. Tell us about your journey from DIY to the next level.
Yeah, so I was born in Jersey City and spent like elementary, middle school there, moved to South Florida where I spent like middle school, high school, and then moved here like 8 years ago. And I think within those times where I was like from Jersey to Florida, I was exposed to like having instruments around, drums,
At church,
guitar.
right?
I'm sorry.
At church.
Yeah, exactly. Like my parents were involved in the church, so like they had instruments around. So like it was kind of just like there at my exposure, and then so I would just like mess around with it. And yeah, am I allowed to curse? Because like I feel like it's so
totally.
It might slip out, so that's the only reason I ask. But yeah, it was there, and yeah. So I think just like the whole idea of like just picking up like any instrument and just doing it, kind of like that's where it came from. And also just watching like my older brother, my older cousins, and just like older family members, they would do like Nirvana covers in the basement and just like play punk music, play like loud punk music. And that's kind of like where I got the whole attitude and mentality from, and kind of took it to Florida, started some bands with some friends I met in middle school and high school. And I think as a kid, I always just was always trying to like create something. And I just, whatever tools I had to do it, like I just made it happen. So that's kind of like where the whole DIY attitude came from.
Was there a scene in Florida that you can give credit to?
Yeah, there was, but it wasn't too active, like it was kind of something like if specifically in Naples, like where I live, like Fort Myers, Naples area, it's kind of a scene.
Snowbirds and
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Snowbirds. It's not very friendly for like a younger crowd, and it's like even if you like throw a party, like it gets shut down in like seconds, just like. But and it's crazy because it's like all the way in the middle of the woods, like where you don't think anyone's gonna like find you partying, and then
all
like,
it takes is one like irritated old lady to hear the music coming from the house,
Exactly. That's exactly it. But yeah.
You have this style. in the last few years, there's been this emergence of this rock R&B hybrid style that I kind of draw back to people like Miguel, who kind of pioneered that sort of like R&B, but also with guitars kind of vibe, you know. And now you think of people like Steve Lacy and the Internet and Post Malone, of course. And you know, we're seeing that hybrid R&B rock sound is really becoming popular. Do you feel like it's catching up to you because you've been doing this kind of music for years, and now do you feel like it's your time because that's what's popular now?
You know, I think for a while I felt like it was rare to like see their blends of like sounds that were like as far as like rock and alternative and R&B. Like at one point when I was like, that was something I was trying to achieve. It felt kind of like a rarity, and you know, it's kind of cool to see it like become like an actual thing and like something popular in music and something that, you know, yeah, in a sense it did make me feel more like, you know, the music could surface more and like, and yeah, but I think like where I'm at now is I think where I'm at now is like, I think where I started was always like R&B, like vocals and stuff. So I think I'm finding a way to like bridge the gap, like my alternative rock background, and like bring back some of the R&B vocals to that. And like I think Miguel is like a good reference that you bring up too. But yeah, I think, yeah, I don't know if that answers your question at all.
Yeah, that's good. That's about right. Well, you know, one thing that I really love about your sound is you have great production. You have really cool, interesting samples. You don't just put out you know, everyone's kind of tired of the 808s and hi-hats as you have a little bit of that going on, but you also have like these weird, you know, samples, these drum sounds and these, you know, keyboard sounds that sound unexpected. Like I feel like if I was going to describe your sound, I would say it's familiar, but it's not.
Ooh.
So tell us about your production. Who do you work with to get those sounds? How do you, you know, go about picking your samples and stuff like that?
Yeah, that's a good question actually. So like kind of bringing it back to like Demi's point, I think a lot of it comes from DIY stuff, and when it came to production, you know, I downloaded like FL Studio at like 15, and I was always like making little sounds, like finding samples on Google, and I think that spirit like carried on into now, and I think like I'm branching out a little more and having like my friends play some bass lines, have some friends do some synth chords that I can't really like do myself. You know, sometimes I have friends like, you know, even add some like hi-hats, just some sounds like that they probably hear that I won't. I think I'm getting a little more interactive and involved, having people involved on that side. But for the most part, a lot of these sounds and stuff come from me and like my imagination. And I think there's been a lot of times where I even have like dreams of like full production, like just like full sounds. Like I'll have a full song and be like, damn, I wish I could just Shazam that like when I woke up. So like I'll try to like my best to just make that sound that I heard in my dream or imagination into like recording, or like when I'm in the studio and just like producing. But yeah, it's I think the fun of it comes a lot from being able to do it myself. So yeah, I think maybe that's just me being stubborn or whatever, but I'm really trying to just like be more collaborative when it comes to that. But yeah, it's for the most part, a lot of it starts with me.
What kind of music did you grow up listening to?
My parents exposed me to a lot of like Earth, Wind and Fire, like Filipino disco. My dad like would give me like classic.
Whoa.
Yeah, my dad would give me like classic rock quizzes.
Quizzes.
So it was,
That's hardcore.
yeah, and
That's hardcore.
if you were to like quiz me now, I would fail horribly. But it's just like at that age, you know. And then I think Outcast, like my dad bought like the Outcast Love Below speaker box CD with Sean Paul too, so I was listening to that a lot at one point.
Yeah,
there was one point where I had
your dad sounds cool. Like I want to
No
hang out
Doubt,
with your dad.
yeah. No Doubt Return to Saturn album was a big part of my life. It was like the only CD in my CD player at one point. And then my brother exposed me to a lot of like hardcore punk rap, like Nas, Mobb Deep, and then even like to Nirvana, to Black Flag, to Bad Brains, and just other like very underground New York hardcore.
I love that you're in. Yeah,
It's everywhere.
I'm
It's
a big
so
DC.
everywhere.
I'm going to show it off. I have a. Let me see if I can even see it. I don't know if you see it, but I have a PMA tattoo. I have a new. This is a Bad Brains tattoo I got
What?
from
Wait, I didn't know that.
from Gnarly
You know
Gav.
that?
Shout out Gnarly Gav. Me and Aquafina share a tattoo artist, Gnarly Gav, and Gnarly Gav put this on me a few years ago. I used to live in DC, and I thought maybe the whole Bad Brains logo, you know, where the lightning bolt against the Capitol would be too hardcore. I was like, I don't want to like, you know, go to the hospital sometime and they see I have like this anarchist tattoo on me. So I was like, let me get the PMA with the lightning bolt. Anyway, tangent.
Yeah, I like it. I like it.
Thank you.
Yeek, do you have any tattoos that your fans may not know about?
Secret tattoos. No, just kidding.
I just got this one. It says Valencia, and it's the name of the next album. So yeah.
Good segue. Good segue.
Shameless album tattoo promotion.
Damn.
Yeah. Yo, let's talk about this new album.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
We got the advance of this thing, and it is beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
It's so much fun to listen to.
Oh, so you heard it?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
We're as members of the press, we get access to these things.
Yes. Yeah.
And you brought it up before we did, so we can talk about it. First of all, 3,000 Miles, which is the first single from the album, I guess is that the first single from the album?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So such a cool sounding song.
Thank you.
And I gotta say, like all the songs on this album, they're short and sweet. You got a lot of 2-minute long songs on here. So why'd you go with that direction as opposed to, you know, the longer songs like you did on your last album?
Yeah. I love answering that question because for me, I think when I create music, I also like to be mindful of like the listener. Obviously, I think most artists are mindful of that, and for me, I like as a listener and like a creator of it, I kind of like create like what I want to hear. And for me, like I like long songs if they keep my attention the whole way. And for me, I like to like condense like a 4 or 5, what you can translate in a 4 or 5 minute song. I like to put it into 2 minutes and 2-3 minutes, something short and sweet. And I feel like that gives me a lot of room to be imaginative with the production, with the writing. It's like you're compensating for like something you could do, just drag out in 5 minutes with like a long bridge and all this and that. I rather just boom. It's like, I want you to feel like you're experiencing a 5-minute song in like 2-3 minutes. So I think that's kind of like one thing I try to achieve when I make music. It's like, I really like making it short and sweet. And maybe subconsciously it comes from the DIY, like punk background that I came from. It's like, you know,
That's true.
Making short songs.
Yeah, we just talk about Bad Brains songs.
Exactly.
Like
But as much as I come from like punk and stuff like that, I come from R&B and soul music and a lot of that. So I think it's you know, it might be an odd blend, but I think that's my way of blending it. And you know, sonically I want it to sound very soulful. I want it to sound very like smooth, you know. But I think sometimes the attitude of it can be like short, and it's just like, you know, that's what you get. You know, if you want to hear more, run it back.
Yeah.
You're known to write, produce, mix, pretty much a little bit of everything, and it's kind of rare. What's your process like? How do you do that?
Which comes first?
Yeah, what comes first? What came first to you?
Oh, I guess we got to unpack and think about it a little.
You hit him with the hard question, Demi.
Whoops.
You know, I love it. I started with producing, and just playing instruments. And then I think along the way I learned how to mix, because not many people in my high school at the time really had access to like, you know, microphones or like, software and stuff like that. So I met a friend who had a microphone and like software, and he just kind of needed people to record him because he was always the one recording people and recording himself. And he taught me real quick how to like use software and all that stuff. So I like picked it up. Actually ended up being like super fun, and like I just got hooked on it. I got hooked to like engineering, to like mixing, and just like doing it from home. And there's points where I would end up in studios, and like if I was ever around to engineer, I would just bug them and just ask them questions. But like when it comes to mixing, when it comes to singing, when it comes to producing, I see those all as instruments. When I can get in the mind space of like seeing them as like just another like guitar I know how to play, or drum set I know how to bang on, it's another instrument for me. And when I can look at it that way, it's just becomes less of like a task, then it feels like I'm just having fun doing it. And to answer your question, it's different every time. Sometimes I'll start with a melody, sometimes I'll start with production, sometimes I'll start with a guitar, keys. It's just whatever I'm feeling at that moment. And it's really just starts from the feeling for me.
You are Filipino American. You grew up with both American and Filipino culture. I actually, one of my good friends from college is Filipino. I actually did Filipino Christmas in LA several years ago, so I got a taste of that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Shout out Mako Garib. Tell me about the mixing of the culture, because one thing that's interesting about Filipino culture is that Filipino culture has really embraced Western music. You talked about Filipino disco. They love soap operas. So tell me about the mixing of those two cultures growing up, what you were exposed to and what you took from that.
Yeah. So in New Jersey, there was more like a Filipino American community, Filipino community. And when I talk about like church and my parents being involved in church, it was actually very like Filipino specific. And Filipinos are like mainly Catholic, Christian, and so like I was exposed to that community through like my parents' church and stuff, like Filipino Catholic church, and also just family. Obviously I have a big family. I have like hella cousins, aunties, uncles all over the place. So a lot of my family was in the tri-state area, or like New Jersey, Baltimore, had some family in Philly at the time, or like Pennsylvania, and maybe not Philly, just kind of like that area, Northeast area. When I moved to Florida, there wasn't so much exposure to Filipino culture, but we would go back home every like 2-3 times a year. So, but I think like growing up, it was like like from being a kid to like 12, which is when I moved out of Jersey. We would always make a point to have like big family gatherings and stuff like that, where there's a lot of food and this and that. I think when I went to Florida, it kind of struggled with identity of like, because no one knew what like Filipino was. Like I had to educate people constantly and like tell them like, I'm not this kind of Asian or this kind of Asian. Like I'm specifically like Filipino, and like no one even knows what Filipino is. So like being at such a developing stage of my life where I'm like preteens to teenager, it's like it becomes confusing to me too, because I'm like, damn, like what am I? But yeah, like I think at the end of the day, I still was able to maintain like just like a good sensibility of my culture, though, just through like being around, just through like staying in touch with my friends that were Filipino, whether it was friends from Cali, friends from like Jersey still, and even just a few people I met in, actually made a few Filipino friends in Florida that ended up being really like similar to me, and like in interests and clothes and fashion and stuff like that. So that was also a blessing. Shout out my boy Aaron.
Eventually you went to the West Coast. Is that where Only in the West came to surface? Because I love that song, and I was wondering, the West Coast blues, is that a term that you invented?
Yeah, I mean, I think just like lyrically, that's kind of what came to my head. And so like it's funny because West Coast blues kind of like it's about me moving from South Florida to here.
Mhm.
But the thing is, like in South Florida, I'm from the West Coast of South Florida, so it's also like this play on words. Like I'm like missing the West Coast of Florida, which is like the Gulf. I'm from the Gulf side, and so like AKA the West. So like where I'm from that side of Florida, South Florida. And then like when I moved, I was like missing Florida, but also like loving living in Cali. So like it
Mhm.
was always my dream to live in California. And also I have like so much family out here in California too. So it's a second home. And I have a lot of childhood friends from here too, which is also a really long story, but that's connected to like the church that my parents are involved in. Um, but yeah, I think California is a second home for sure, as much as Jersey and Florida is. Those are like my three homes to me.
See, I've lived all over the country, and people give me a hard time for moving around a lot, and so
Yeah.
I totally feel you. I'm from Kansas City, where I'm at now. I've lived in LA. I live in Brooklyn full time now, so I totally get that. Um, do you feel like that's like actually kind of helped your music, that you've been able to kind of shift from place to place and picked up things in different areas from different people?
Oh yeah, yeah, most definitely, most definitely. Um, I think I think I picked up a lot of. It's all in my music, you know. Like my experiences in Florida, my experiences here. I feel like the I've talked the least about New Jersey, and I think that's something that I want to like bring up more in my future music. Um,
Jersey gets a bad rap, but there's
it
some,
really does. It really
yeah,
does. So does Florida, though.
yeah.
And so it's like, I think those places like helped me have like tough skin. Helped me like become who I am. Like just the exposure, because like within America, like every state is almost like its own country. You know, it's like its own culture, and like I
Mhm.
think those are things that I just picked up along my life, and put into my music, maybe subconsciously or consciously. You know.
What
That-
about 3,000 miles? I've been itching because I mean, everybody will have their own interpretation of
Hmm.
what a song is about. Like that, I think that's what makes art amazing, is that I can hear a song and think about something, and you'll hear a song and think about something completely different. So, what exactly from your words was, or who exactly is that song about?
Give us some deets. Give us some juice.
Yeah, give us that.
The T.
The tea.
Um, yeah. So I was dating somebody at the time, and they were in Florida, where I'm from, and I was here in California, and like the distance between the two is 3,000 miles. And yeah, I don't know if that's cheesy or whatever, but like I think that's basically where it comes from. And but it there's a lot of layers to it too, you know. Just like it also is an ode from like me going back to Florida, me going back to Cali. I think at the time when I was writing it, I was taking a lot of trips from Florida to Cali, like the most I ever have since I moved here. So I was like there all the time, just there all the time. And yeah.
Let's talk about this amazing personal style you have. We talked about the beanies. You got the tee, you got the bracelets, you accessorize. Uh, are you one? First of all, you look like a hype beast, like, poster child right now. I'm not trying to embarrass
But
you,
cooler, because
but
you got
cooler,
the hype
cooler.
beast, the
I don't mean to put you in a box, but tell us about your. First of all, are you a streetwear drop sneakerhead? Like, pay attention to the blogs, like you like on eBay looking at stuff. Like, how into that world are you?
I think with clothes, you know, I really like what I like. I'm very specific. I wouldn't say I'm like waiting for every sneaker drop and looking at every like, you know, like Instagram, uh, you know, about street style and clothes. I think for me, I always grew up. I had a few friends that put me onto like sneaker culture at the time. Like I'm kind of older, so like it was forums for me. It was like ISS and like etc. Like even Hypebeast forum, like hypebeast.com forums. Um, and that was kind of like the world I was exposed to initially, and I think I kind of picked and choose what I was into and kind of like went from there. But when it goes back to like the music I listen to, it all goes hand in hand, with my style and stuff like that. I have the sneakers like that I'm into, and I have like the clothes that I'm like into, which is like, just stuff that my friends put me onto, and like, you know, different brands and stuff like that.
That was my first.
I'm always on eBay and stuff. That's for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm always at like the flea market or like the thrift store, like looking for something new, or sometimes
You can put together, you know how to put together a fit. That's for sure. That's for
You might
sure.
catch me on the Brea sometimes, but I
Do
think
you have a prized pair of sneakers? Do you have like a rare pair of Jordans in the closet, or like something you really love?
I might have a few.
Okay. I like the vagueness. I like the vagueness. I like that. Like, I'm not giving it away. I'm going to tip anybody off. Yeah.
Yeah. All good.
What can we expect from this new album? Is it going to be, 3,000 miles? Like, what, if without giving too much away, what can we expect from you in this new album?
I think a lot more experimentation with my vocals.
Really?
I think that's one thing.
You worked with a vocal coach recently, right?
Yeah, I have. I'm not gonna lie though, it was only like 2 sessions on Zoom.
Hey, that's all you need sometimes.
Yeah, but also a couple of years I had like 2-3 sessions in New York, but that was the most vocal coaching I've ever done, which is like not a lot at all.
Was that
Yo,
like
but
the
that takes that's really cool that you were able to be like, yo, I can improve this, and here's what I need to do to improve this. I mean, that takes a lot of guts for an already working artist. I mean, people knew who you were 4 or 5 years ago, and you still didn't think you were good enough. So why did you decide to take that step and improve that side of your game?
I think like how I had mentioned earlier, so I actually like used to do YouTube covers when I was like 18, 19, and it kind of like some of it kind of blew up. And it was very like singy, like very singy.
Are they still up on YouTube?
No, they're not. And if they are,
No.
I'm like, I
We'll
don't know.
find them. I'm really good at that. I'll find them.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm sure you'll find it.
But what did you cover? Just give us a couple examples.
I actually covered Drake, Best I Ever Had. And it was like one of the few covers, like it was the second cover of that song to be uploaded, so it like got kind of big. And it was like the Tumblr era, so like I had stuff on Tumblr. This is so embarrassing to talk about, but I think it's so necessary for like to explain, like to like answer your question. But yeah, it was very singing. It was very singing, and I think that's how I started like singing. And but before that, it was always just instruments, production, like rapping, whatever, everything besides singing. And one of my best friends, she told me growing up in high school, she told me like, you should sing, like you play beautiful guitar, you should be singing with that. And I'm like, yeah, okay. So I started singing. I started like singing so much R&B because that's kind of where I started. And I think with my music now, I'm taking it back to the roots of like how I started vocally, and I'm singing. So I never did that throughout like my body of works. I feel like it was more, I think it was a little more like it was like chiller, it was more on the songwriting side. Like I was trying to write a good song than like be vocally impressive, or like vocally like just like experimental. So I think with this record, I'm being a little more experimental with my vocals. I'm pushing more of the R&B undertones that always lived in my music, and I'm putting it more out there. And I think that alternative side will always live through my music, and even electronic side, and those sonics will always live in my music. But I think part of the evolution is just adding those layers. So yeah, that's really it.
Sometimes listening to you, it's almost as if lyrically, able to step inside and open up your diary. Um, does lyrics come? Do they come easy to you to write? You know, do you rewrite? Are you one of those artists that rewrites and rewrites, or does it just come out all over the paper?
I think one thing I actually realized like super recently was that I suck at writing when I'm like trying to write.
Mm.
And I'm really good at writing something when I'm like vulnerable, like super, like when I'm like low key sitting in the chair about to like cry type shit. And then I feel like that's when like
Yeah.
I can write something because I'm like, I feel like, damn, like, fuck, like, I don't know how to say what I'm feeling right now. So I'm just gonna like sing this shit. And that's when the lyrics come out like beautifully for me. I'm just like, damn, like, it's when I'm like really allow myself to just be in the room and feel like raw, feel vulnerable. Just damn, I'm low key about to like, just
Yo,
like, yeah,
you and I are roughly the same age, and
yeah,
we came up in the screamo emo era a little bit. You know, did you get into a little My Chemical Romance, a little Simple Plan, that kind of stuff? You know,
yeah,
did that
for
kind
sure.
of have a little influence on you?
Yeah, not so much, but I definitely remember it, and I definitely, if you put on one of those songs, I'll be able to sing along. But I wouldn't say that it was like a
Because
big
that's what I thought of when you were
But
talking
not
about
My
your
Chemical
emotions and
Romance.
stuff. I was like, yeah, I bet this dude, yeah,
But I think that's just music in general, you know. It's like especially when you're singing and stuff, it requires your emotion, and to be
yeah,
mindful of it. But I wouldn't say it's to the extent of like being emo and like
yeah.
feeling like 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 this angst. Like it's
Re-
not like to
But
that.
have you ever shopped at a Hot Topic before?
Oh hell yeah, I still do.
Okay, okay, okay.
I still do.
Hasn't
You
They
opened
still
in
do?
a
got they
long
got
time.
hey they got good music teas. They got good music
But,
teas.
if you like, I swear we're not sponsored by Hot Topic, but if you go to the Hot Topic website, they got a good variety of like everything there. So
Mm,
yeah,
mm.
yeah.
Okay,
Hot
yeah,
Topic
I'm
still
sure.
open?
I haven't peeped the website yet, but I'll probably peep it today.
He said, "I have to peep the website."
I
I
like
haven't
that
peeped
you
the
don't.
website. I'll probably do it today. I'll probably do
Yeah,
it today.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
We should send it to
Um,
Hot Topic.
not sponsored by Hot Topic. Yeah,
Send me some links.
Yeah, for real.
yeah, yeah. Oh man. Well, before we let you go, I want to talk about your new album Valencia that's coming out. What do you have a drop date for that?
Yeah, it's gonna be March 19th.
March 19th is when Valencia new album comes out. And I want to you have like a really great team who worked with you on this album.
I do.
You had an engineer. We were talking about that rock R&B hybrid, and another pioneer of that sound, of that West Coast R&B rock sound, of course, is Frank Ocean. And you actually worked with one of Frank Ocean's engineers on this album, right?
Yeah, Jeff Fellas, that's my guy. We share the same management. We've been trying to work for years,
You
and
and
yeah.
Frank? Or you and the engineer?
I'm sorry.
Who are you talking about?
Me and the engineer. Me and the engineer.
Okay.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
and Frank would be sick though.
yeah. Yeah,
Whoa.
that would be great. He actually came to one of my shows like 2 years ago in Bowery Ballroom, and that was love. So shout out Frank.
What is that? How did that help shape this album? Having that, Frank Ocean engineer on the board on this.
Yeah, I think even just like aside from like how doing Frank, he had like a lot of experience in everything. Like he has a lot of work that I just love, even just for stuff he's done for the homies and the friends and like and the tags. Um yeah, he's just I just really love the way he works because he really like lets me do my because I'm also like someone who mixes and mixes music and produces and stuff. I think he likes to like keep the creative ideas that I have. Like he kind of like keeps like 70% of it and then he'll do his thing like that's technical and take it to the next level and make it sound like in $1 million record. So it's like I really love the dynamic, and also shout out Nathan Phillips, who works with Jeff as well, and he works for Jeff at Jeff Ellis Worldwide. So shout out those two guys. They really helped like shape the sound of this album. Such great guys, sweet boys.
Well, we're excited for what the future holds for you. The album Valencia, it sounds great, and we're looking forward to whatever the future holds for you. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Absolutely. We'll talk to you later.
Peace.